Jordan's former crown prince, Hamzah bin Al Hussein, has been accused of trying to destabilize the country and plotting with foreign entities. King Abdullah's half-brother was put under what he calls house arrest, along with several high-profile officials. The prince has released a voice recording saying he'll ignore the army's orders to not communicate with the outside world. Maddock reports.
This is my last form of communication, satellite internet that I have, and I've been informed by the company that they are instructed to cut it. So it's maybe the last time I'm able to communicate.
Jordan's former crown prince says he's under house arrest for criticising the government. If it is the last time Prince Hamza bin Hussein can speak freely, he didn't hold anything back.
I am not the person responsible for the breakdown in governance, for the corruption, and for the incompetence that has been prevalent in our governing structure for the last 15 to 20 years.
His video was released to the media shortly after state TV confirmed the arrests of several former officials. But the authorities deny the prince is among them. An alleged plot to unseat the king unfolded on Saturday night, but there are conflicting reports about whether it was a real or imminent threat. There is, however, growing anger in Jordan over rising poverty and debt and an increasingly authoritarian regime.
There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of anger, and Prince Hamza has expressed this anger, or has at least sympathized with this anger in his meetings with ordinary citizens in Jordan, and this has rattled the ruling elites in the country, and that's why he's been arrested.
Prince Hamza is the half-brother of King Abdullah. When their father died in 1999, Abdullah took the throne and Hamza became the crown prince. But his title was stripped by the king just 5 years later. While he hasn't been seen as a real threat to the monarchy, he is popular, especially among Jordan's tribes.
Their well-being has been put second by a ruling system that has decided that its personal interests, that its financial interests, that its corruption is more important than the lives and dignity and futures of the 10 million people that live here.
Middle East experts say Hamza will likely be under house arrest for a long time and will face extreme pressure to stand in solidarity with the king and recant his reproaches. Time will tell whether the prince can remain a voice for the discontented and what the ruling elite will do to placate the public and stifle dissent. Maddock, TRT World.
For more on this, I'm joined now by Sami Nader in Beirut. He's the director of the Levant Institute for Strategic Affairs. Thank you for joining us on the show. Now, we've seen various governments, including the US and Saudi Arabia, rush to reiterate their support for the king. How important is the political stability of Jordan for the region and their goals in the region?
Actually, the stability of the region relies a lot on the stability of Jordan, because everything that happens in Iraq, everything that happens in Syria, and everything that happens inside the Palestine territories has their impact in Jordan and vice versa. The strategic depth of Jordan is like this Sunni countries, Iraq, Syria, and Palestinian territories, and so everything that happens in Jordan has this direct impact in these countries. And all know that things in Syria has changed drastically for the last 10 years. The government is shaky, the regime is shaky, the regional powers are present on the ground, and even while in Iraq the situation is not easy. The Sunni component of Iraq is still not integrated or very well integrated in the country, and everyone knows the impact of Jordan and the royal family and the relationship with the Sunni component of Iraq, while in the Palestinian territories, you have a peace process that is totally stalled. The conflict between the Palestinian and Israel is at its acme, and one has not to forget that the large majority of the Jordanian population is Palestinian. The king plays a key role in maintaining stability inside the Palestinian
Sami, sorry to interject, but talking about stalled projects, the Jordanian economy itself has been quite stalled for many years now, and the pandemic has made things worse. Unemployment hit as much as 24% last year. What is the government doing? How much pressure is there on the Jordanian government to rectify this economic crisis?
The pressure is enormous because Jordan has a problem of scarcity of resources. It was going through a deep economic crisis amplified by the Syrian refugee crisis that had their deep impact on Jordan, and it was amplified as well by the corona plight. And Jordan has had huge consequences because of the virus, and there were accusations of corruption, and this was the message that was conveyed by Prince Hamza, who's accused of waging this plot against the current regime.
So given the state of the economy, do you think that these allegations of corruption will find much traction among the people given the economic situation that the country is in?
The situation is quite challenging, and frankly speaking, since the beginning of the Arab Spring, it was quite challenging for Jordan as well, among other countries. It's true that Jordan could surf on the wave of Arab Spring, maintaining more or less a stable regime. However, the accusation of corruption, the aspiration of the Jordanian people for a change, for transparent government, for more participation, for equal distribution of resource, one can see this as a major challenge. So the situation is not easy. One has to recognize as well that the last 20 years were not easy for King Abdullah. At first, he had to face the second Iraqi war, which has a direct impact on Jordan. Then you had the Arab Spring, then the coronavirus. I mean, a series of consecutive crises that is shaking a country that, as we were saying, is key for the stability of the region. And if there is one lesson that one can draw from the last event, that this country, facing those challenges, still enjoying an international protection, starting with the protection of the US, Britain, and a large number of Arab states, including Egypt and Saudi Arabia.